Republican Senate candidate in Georgia, Herschel Walker, a vocal critic of absentee fathers, tonight now acknowledging he has a 10-year-old he did not raise.
Republican Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker is acknowledging a second son.
Herschel Walker has lied about it all. He's lied about everything. Herschel Walker at one point said that he was black and had rhythm. Here it is.
Watch this right here. All right, I want you to watch this and stay with me here if you want to do this, all right? Take a look.
I'm so upset. Not all these damn lies Herschel done told. That may be the biggest one.
Previously, Walker hadn't publicly mentioned a 10-year-old son. His campaign confirmed the child after the Daily Beast reported Tuesday that the boy's mother had taken Walker to court to establish paternity for child support back in 2014. Walker's campaign says he has supported the child and that the suggestion that he hid his son is, quote, offensive and absurd.
You know, U.S. Senate candidate Herschel Walker, he's definitely been this individual who calls out absentee fathers and saying it's a big problem in America, really reinforcing these dog whistles, particularly as it applies to the Black community. Well, as it turns out, he is an absentee father. Was.
This is annoying on like 20,000 different levels, right? This trope of the absentee black father. Who are these absentee black fathers? This stuff that we get from the 80s and Reaganism and, you know, this idea of black pathology or underclass ideology, right? Like, where do we get this stuff? These are black men who walked into one, deindustrialization, the jobs left, they shipped them overseas, mass incarceration and a drug war. So these dudes were not around because they were locked the hell up in an economy that had no jobs and opportunities for them. So like just the trope that we pathologize black men and their inability to father people is ridiculous. And then we don't talk about like that. People say, well, what about the actual statistics? Well, you need to contextualize those statistics and talk about the environments that produce them. That's a one. And then we got this freaking hypocrite Herschel Walker, who is a rich man. You're a rich man who's free to do all your responsibilities. And what have you done? Go out in your campaign and, let's face it, be an Uncle Tom and peddle some of the worst stereotypes about black people possible to get, yes, good boy, Herschel, good boy, pats on the head from your white helpers and enablers. And then you yourself inexcusably have no part in your own child's life, bro. You're not in jail, you're not locked up. You didn't get messed up on drugs because of terrible economic situations around you. You're just a horrible father.
You have a child with a woman. Even if you have to leave that woman, you don't leave the child.
Right.
You let that child know, you try to work it out. You're going to be respectful to her. If you're going to be respectful to other things, you show that to your child.
So that is Herschel Walker saying what many Republicans will say. No matter what, you have to maintain a relationship with your child. You have to teach them, provide an example for them, show respect to the mom, show respect to other things. He couldn't think of a second example, but whatever. And he's been consistent on that for literally years. He's been talking about the need for there to be better fathers. He said at one point back in 2020, I want to apologize to the African-American community because the fatherless home is a major problem. He added that he had been like a father to some of the kids that had never had fathers. So I don't understand the apology part of that. The apology is that he's criticizing the community and then saying he's such a good dad that he's dad for even people he's not the dad of, I guess. Back in 2017, He talked about how good of a relationship he has with his son, Christian, saying if you got a child, hug your child every day, which is a message that I love. In a presidential fitness panel appearance 1 year later, he said that while parental involvement is very, very important, so was adults getting involved with kids, because some kid do not have a parent, a mother, or a father. So definitely be a good parent to your kids. In fact, to be parents to other kids too. Not if you're a teacher, though. That's super sus these days. He wouldn't like that. So have you guessed where this is going? It's a hypocrisy. Of course, it has to. He's a Republican. According to reporting by the Daily Beast, what he hasn't publicly acknowledged is that he has a second son who has apparently been estranged from him since his birth a decade ago. He grew up 1,500 miles away. Most importantly, though, the mother, whose name is being hidden for privacy reasons, which seems eminently reasonable, had to take Walker to court a year after giving birth in order to secure a declaration of paternity and child support. They've confirmed these events through public posts, a court document where Walker is declared to be the child's father, and a person close to the boy's family with direct knowledge of the event. So they say that while Walker sends Christmas and birthday presents, he otherwise has not played an active parental role in raising his second son. The child has also not met or spoken with his half-brother Christian.
Right, and yet you go out and you do all of this stuff, and it's just the worst. Like, this is kind of the worst sellout Tom behavior that you can see, and I don't come to that term very lightly. I just think this is just literally the absolute worst embodiment of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the fact is that we know that this whole absentee black father is nothing more than a racist trope. It's an absolute myth, and it's been debunked numerous times by CDC studies and reports. And so for Walker to be used as a conduit for it, or actually to be a conduit for it, I want to give him accountability for his behavior. It just, all it does is continue to feed the hypocrisy, also to allow these racist tropes to exist. And and also just to turn out that, hey, he himself is an absentee father. It's just like, I just roll my eyes. But also Walker's hypocrisy, it really knows no bounds. The man himself has a history of domestic abuse, which is also much more concerning, but I guess also right up its alley. We know this from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. So Mika Dean, that was a woman, had told police in 2012 that when she tried to end a relationship, a longtime romantic relationship with the Republican US Senate candidate Herschel Walker, he threatened to blow her head off and then kill himself. And Dean is the second woman who was involved romantically with Walker to accuse him of making violent threats. His ex-wife, Cindy Grossman, has also said he threatened her life, and a recent Associated Press report unearthed documents that show a judge granted Grossman a protective order in 2005 after outlining his alleged threats to shoot her in the head. And it's also my understanding that they were using those red flag laws against him, and that the judge ordered that his weapon be taken away. It seems like this is the most problematic candidate, doesn't have a strong position, proposals, nothing. Has told multiple lies, and they are egregious lies, and yet he continues to be in this position of being a potential candidate for US Senate. I want to talk to these constituents and ask them, really, what are they thinking? Waz, any final thoughts on this?
Look, man, being this type of black racial traitor or sellout, while I can sense that it's probably soul crushing and it's got to take a lot out of these people, it's lucrative and it gets you far. And putting a black face on the worst sort of racial stereotypes and finger wagging, respectability politics, all black pathology crap, it helps you advance in all of your endeavors so long as you're consorting with the right wing.
Yep, exactly. And people are willing to do anything to nestle up to the money, nestle up to the GOP, including selling their souls if they had them.
Herschel Walker is a legend in the state of Georgia, a college football star who went on to be an All-Pro in the NFL. Now he's the Republican nominee running for the state Senate seat, backed by former President Trump.
So Herschel, please say a few words. Thank you, Mayor.
Walker has been outspoken about his bond with his 22-year-old son.
I love this kid to death.
If you have a child with a woman, even if you have to leave that woman, you don't leave the child.
And the problem of fatherless households, especially in the African American community. This from an interview in 2020.
I want to apologize to the African American community. because I know the fatherless home is a major, major problem.
Now, Walker coming forward to confirm he has a second son that he doesn't see. The admission after the Daily Beast reported Walker was sued for paternity and ordered to pay child support in 2014. The child, now 10 years old, has Walker's last name. In a statement to the Daily Beast, Walker's campaign manager said, quote, Herschel had a child years ago when he wasn't married. He supported the child and continues to do so. He's proud of his children. To suggest that Herschel is hiding the child because he hasn't used him in his political campaign is offensive and absurd. Walker is in a brutal battle with incumbent Democrat Raphael Warnock. The insurgent Republicans campaign accusing Warnock of playing dirty politics, saying Raphael Warnock is currently engaged in both a nasty mudslinging campaign and a nasty custody dispute with his ex-wife. He is trying to hide it from voters by sealing the case and even tried to hide from authorities. This is a complete double standard. Warnock's communication director responded to that attack, telling the Daily Beast, Reverend Warnock is a devoted father who is proud to continue to co-parent his 2 children as he worked for the people of Georgia. The pressure and attacks from both campaigns reflecting the high stakes. The Senate at a 50-50 tie, and Georgia, a state where every vote counts.
Steve Osunsami from Georgia.
Let me hear Herschel Walker.
For years, he has repeatedly criticized black men who leave their children. But tonight, Georgia's Republican nominee for U.S. Senate, Herschel Walker, is admitting that he has a 10-year-old son who he didn't raise. Court documents show that the boy's mother had to sue him for paternity and child support in 2013.
Even if you have to leave that woman, you don't leave the child.
So Herschel, please say a few words.
Walker, who is running with the strong support of former President Donald Trump, regularly complains about absent black fathers.
The problem we have is we're going back to this mentality that the father leaves in the black family. He leaves and leaves the boys alone so they'll be raised by the mom.
In a statement tonight, Walker's campaign says he had a child years ago when he wasn't married and that he supported the child and continues to do so. The Heisman Trophy winner won the hearts of Georgians during his college football days. He won the Republican primary last month with nearly 70% of the vote, despite allegations over past domestic violence and his struggle with multiple personalities. He was recently caught lying about graduating from college and working in law enforcement. In November, he faces the sitting senator, Democrat Raphael Warnock.
Walker's campaign points out that his opponent, the sitting senator, is currently in a bitter fight with his ex-wife over their child custody arrangement. But Senator Warnock's people today say what's different in his case is that he's always been a devoted father. David?
Steve, thank you.
And so, look, families are complicated. And I don't believe that we should necessarily judge other people's families. I don't really feel comfortable judging my own family. The whole thing's a big mess. But I also don't necessarily go around moralizing about the failures, not just of individual people, but like the entire African-American community, while I'm not practicing what I almost literally preach. I don't know, JR, what do you think?
Weird how that works. You can say a bunch of things, act like you're holier than thou, and then when people discover, which isn't that hard to do apparently, that you're not living the life that you're lecturing everyone else about, it might take away from this moralizing approach and speech that you have. Again, we talked before about Lauren Boebert and how the reasons behind the issues with her is her principles, and then what it is in her reasons for her decisions later, once she's in office. So again, Herschel Walker's running for office.
That aides to Herschel Walker declined to comment just yesterday, but they did write a written statement from his campaign manager who said this, and I love this response. It's one of the classic ways to respond to a scandal like this. So he says, Herschel had a child years ago when he wasn't married. He's supported the child and continues to do so. No acknowledgement of the fact that he had to be dragged to court to do that, but whatever. He's proud of his children. To suggest that Herschel is hiding the child because he hasn't used him in his political campaign is offensive and absurd. That's not what people's concern is. What are you talking about? Now but don't you love that? You have no defense for the thing, so you just defend against an attack that doesn't exist. Like, it's like if like your wife accuses you of cheating and you're like, for you to stand there and say that I'm developing weapons of mass destruction is despicable. How could you say that to me? No, I refuse to talk about this anymore. Go to your room. So that's the issue. It's the hypocrisy. It's the using it pragmatically for your own purposes when you don't actually live it as your life.
And if you're willing to use it for your own purposes, what kind of policy decisions, what kind of agenda, what kind of legislation are you willing to back up? And then support by saying, well, I live this way. They always use their moral standing, which doesn't exist 99% of the time, as a bludgeon on other people to be like, we're passing this law because this is the way Americans should live, like I do. And then they stand behind it as if you can be like me when they're nowhere near the person that they're posing to be. And while they're judging other folks for actually being much better humans than they are. But again, this is the power structure. They can change people's lives based off of the lies of their own. It's disgusting.
100%. Two super quick points. One, if Raphael Warnock, it turned out, had a child out of wedlock, what would the Republicans be saying about him right now? Anyone want to speculate? It'd be disgusting. I know that.
Herschel has been one of the greatest athletes in America, and I know he will go down also as one of the greatest senators in America.
We've been together for a long time, and I said it a long time ago, a great man, great leader, and I want to be a leader like him when I get to that Senate seat to show everyone I love America.
The last thing before we go tonight, Herschel Walker's lies. Republican Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker said there that he wants to be a leader like Trump. Well, with his climbing number of lies, he's getting a lot closer to that goal. The latest is that he said on at least 3 separate occasions that he worked in law enforcement. Well, for fact's sake, let's clear things up. According to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, in a 2017 speech, Walker said this: I work with the Cobb County Police Department, and I have been in criminal justice all my life. Then 2 years later, while giving a speech to soldiers, he said, I spent time at Quantico at the FBI training school. Y'all didn't know I was an agent? They didn't know because he wasn't. And according to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, the Cobb County Police Department said they have no record of any involvement with Walker. His campaign said in a statement to Newsweek the following: Herschel studied criminal justice at the University of Georgia and has supported and worked with law enforcement for years, including speaking to police about mental health, leading women's self-defense training, participating in the FBI Academy at Quantico, and being awarded honorary deputy status in Cobb, along with 3 other Georgia counties. All of that explanation to say, you're right, he didn't work in law enforcement. And as we said, that is just the latest of Walker's lies that have recently come to light. He also claimed that he owned companies that don't actually exist. He lied about his college achievements, and in 2020, he falsely claims that he knew of a mist that prevented COVID. Watch this.
Do you know right now I have something that can bring you into a building that will clean you from COVID as you walk through this dry mess. As you walk through the door, it will kill any COVID on your body. EPA, FDA approved.
A mist that will clean you from COVID? That reminded us of something.
And then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning?
And that is the leader who Herschel Walker wants to model himself after.
I mean, this is a race that could once again determine control of the U.S. Senate.
Do you think this has an implication on this campaign? Could he take a hit because of it?
This is going to be something that dogs his campaign, but it's one of many things that dog his campaign. I mean, lies, campaign blunders, violent behavior, erratic behavior, exaggerations about his academic record, his business background, all sorts of issues. Democrats are trying to paint them together as and raises an issue of credibility for the candidate.
All right, Maura Barrett joins us now from Washington. Maura, how do we think this race is going to shake out as we head into November?
Well, Tom, you might remember Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock won their seats in an absolute upset last year. And so it's bound to get messy as we move forward. Warnock raising tens of millions of dollars in the last year, spending a lot of his money on attack ads. One of his premier ads attacking Walker directly on his repeated statements around COVID misinformation. And so the story like this just gives Warnock even more content for ads like that. And he's willing to spend the money to do so. Experts saying this is bound to be the most expensive midterm election in Georgia history.
Lying as Herschel Walker strikes again. Now, here's what I've done. I have compiled a running list of the lies that Herschel Walker has told. You got to bear with me. It's a lot. He is probably the only person in politics who has lied more than Donald Trump per capita. We're talking about time frame, etc. Now, Herschel Walker, running for the U.S. Senate, slaughtered the Republican field in the state of Georgia, is now running against Senator Warnock, and some polls actually have Herschel Walker in the lead. Well, the new thing, Herschel Walker says you got to be there for your children. He's tired of fathers not being there for their children, especially black fathers. Well, it seems as if Herschel Walker, according to the report that has been confirmed, Herschel Walker has a secret child that he doesn't see at all. That's just one exposure of a misrepresentation and hypocrisy of Herschel Walker. Another story that came out just a couple of days ago, Herschel Walker claimed to be an FBI agent at one point in his background and also claimed to work for the Cobb County Police Department. He said he worked for the Cobb County Police Department. He did not. Cobb County confirmed he never worked for them. He had no affiliation with them. His campaign came out with a statement that said, no. He was an honorary deputy with the Cobb County Police Department. Well, I called them yesterday, and Cobb County Police said they don't have an honorary deputy system. Doesn't exist. Never has. They didn't suspend it because it was never there. His campaign lied to cover up the lie that Herschel Walker said. All right? And if you remember, back in 2017, that was during the height of Herschel Walker telling people that he graduated from the University of Georgia with a degree in criminal justice and that he graduated at the top 1% of his class. He did not graduate at all. So it fit the first lie he told, that he had a criminal justice degree. There's more. There's more. Our investigation has uncovered that Herschel Walker at one point said that he was black and had rhythm. Here it is.
Watch this right here. All right, I want you to watch this and stay with me here if you want to do this, all right? Take a look.
I'm so upset. Not all these damn lies Herschel done told. That may be the biggest one. Maybe not. There's more. The Associated Press, 5/21/22. In interviews and campaign appearances, the former Dallas Cowboy Heisman Trophy winner takes credit for founding and sometimes operating a program called Patriot Support. The program, Herschel Walker says, has taken him to military bases all over the world. Okay, so let me get this right, Herschel. You're the founder of this organization. That's a charitable organization, pro-veteran organization, and it takes you to military bases all over the world. Let's fact check it. He said, people need to know I started a military program that treats thousands of soldiers a year. Walker told Savannah TV station WTGS. This was back in February. This is a more recent lie. Patriot Support is not a charity. Not a charity. It's a for-profit program specifically marketed to veterans that is offered by Universal Health Services, one of the largest hospital chains in the United States. Walker wasn't the program's founder either. It was created 11 years before Universal Health Services says it hired Walker as a spokesman and paid him $331,000 last year. Another lie. In October, Herschel Walker told a UFC-themed podcast, and I quote, I own a food company that's going to freak you out. I own the largest minority-owned food company in the United States. The Daily Beast reviewed the show. That is nowhere near accurate. They confirmed there's no accuracy in that statement. By the Black Enterprise list, Walker's company is not even the largest Black-owned food company in Georgia. The Daily Beast asked the campaign for evidence to support the claim that the company ranks among the largest in that minority-owned category. But as of the publication of that story, the campaign gave no answer. To some, this will be comical. And I understand the gesture because you have to laugh, not to cry. Remember, this man was the top fundraiser for the Republican Party as a Republican candidate in the United States of America. This man is raising more money than virtually anyone in the country running for the U.S. Senate. He beat all Republicans. He even beats a statewide Republican in Georgia that was already elected statewide. Politicians also bear some blame here, politicians in general, because politicians have lowered the bar so much that liars like Herschel Walker become competitive in the arena of the industry known as politics. AB, thoughts on this?
First and foremost, little Herschel, okay, baby daddy Herschel, how you thought you was going to run against this God-fearing man and God wasn't going to expose you, okay? The only FBI you got going on is you a full-on black idiot. Knock it off, okay? Now, one thing I don't like is when politicians use trauma from the black community to try to get votes. Y'all need to stop that, first and foremost, okay? And I'm pretty sure after seeing them dance moves, his son wished he was still a secret because I wouldn't want nobody to know that I was my daddy after seeing how he was moving, okay? Now, his only criminal justice experience that I have seen thus far is pulling guns on people and acting a fool.
That's it.
So I pray to God that Georgia comes out and they vote properly and they vote for their Senate and make sure that this man does not get a seat. Because if he do, Georgia gonna be in trouble, the world gonna be in trouble because he is out of line, out of pocket. And it ain't no way. It's no way. It's no way.
Yeah. And listen, there were actually more lies. I decided to cap it at a certain point, but we will provide more information as stories continue to develop on Line as Herschel Walker.